what is the book of Proverbs? Well, the Proverbs, or wise sayings, were written by a number of individuals, the overwhelming majority of which was written by King Solomon, the son of King David, but also, according to the Psalms themselves, were recorded by other wise men in Jewish history. A man by the name of Lemuel, a king by the name of Agur, and the final psalm, or proverb, I should say, of the book of Proverbs is written by Lemuel's mother, so noting, of course, women being inspired authors of Scripture. The majority of these were written around the 9th century BC, and what's significant about it is that, again, this wisdom literature is emphasizing not necessarily knowledge, but wisdom in particular. Wisdom isn't based on how much you know, but how effectively you use what you know. You could be a wise farmer who can very effectively till a field and himself not know anything about other fields like physics or history or even being literate. But if he's effective in the knowledge that he knows, then of course he is a wiser man than someone who just studies all day but doesn't do a thing with it. The majority of the proverbs in the book of Proverbs are in 4 distinct forms. The first is that of parables, which are illustrative stories, also a form of communication that Jesus himself used in his earthly ministry. Personifications, when you personify or give human traits to something that isn't human in order to illustrate a finer point, usually in reference to God. Couplets, which is a comparison of two ideas that are like each other. So couplet, you understand one, you understand the other, a comparison of like with like. And then finally, and most frequently, contrast, a comparison of the lesser to the greater. This can also be in terms of a comparison of something that is good with something that is the absolute best. But nonetheless, Hebrew culture and literature thrive on contrasts, and you're going to see that a lot in this book. The historical background is, again, since Solomon, who is the primary author, was uniquely blessed by God with wisdom from him in order to properly govern Israel as a favor from God due to how much of a blessing David was to him. The other authors also recognize this when sharing that wisdom, that, of course, God being the source of wisdom is, in fact, the reason why something would be valid. It effectively and rightly reflects reality in execution. And these wise sayings, both on an individual basis and as a whole, have incredible practical application to daily life as wise human beings are reflecting on life in expressive language, which is why this would also fit into the genre of poetry, not to be taken literally word for word, but applied practically in the principles that they are observing due to the genre that is being reflected. Now, despite popular opinion, followers of God aren't considered honorable for being stupid. God is rightly recognized as the standard and source of wisdom and truth. People who follow God and claim to love him should want to live their lives as effectively as possible in order to reflect his character. And the book of Proverbs allows a very informed perspective on the kind of attitudes we should have towards issues not just including, but certainly not limited to, our finances, our relationships, and especially regarding our perspective on what matters more in pleasure or pain in the future or our immediate gratification. Now, not all of Solomon's proverbs are recorded in the book of Proverbs. First King notes that Solomon wrote over 3,000 proverbs, while the book of Proverbs only records 915. Solomon, Agur, Lemuel, and his mother all made distinctions between when they were just making a smart observation and whether or not that observation was from God. That is thus why these proverbs in particular were emphasized, and some even repeated, not because they overlooked the repetition, but because if God said something once, it's important. If he said something twice, it's really important. It's worth repeating. That's the book of Proverbs.